Can you hear me?
We can.
Can you hear me now? Okay, great.
Hey.
Yep. So tonight I'm talking about tactical urbanism, which is one of my favorite topics. It's actually about, that's right. It's actually about taking urban spaces and doing interventions and making them better. Sometimes they're very small, sometimes they're very large, such as painting a crosswalk yourself or transforming a whole street. And sometimes it's called guerrilla urbanism or do-it-yourself urbanism. Unlike our beloved PNC Park, which took, I think, 10 years of political and economic will, tactical urbanism is much more small scale. So we're talking about a building, a street, a block. And it can be done by a community, an architecture firm, or a person. And here are two of my favorite cities, Paris and Toronto, respectively. But what happens if you don't live in Paris or Toronto? What can you do as an individual or a group to make your own spaces better? Well, actually, there's quite a lot. And I'm going to show you a lot of different examples that have been done. And some of them have actually been done in Pittsburgh. And this is a very simple example. I'll show you a couple of these. This is just adding tables and chairs outside of a couple of eateries. And all of a sudden, you have a social space that wasn't there before. And it's amazing what you can create, with that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, you have social capital. This is called DePave, which was started in Portland, Oregon. It's exactly what it says. They are taking up pervious surfaces and putting in plants and gardens. And what are we doing here? One, we're increasing the beauty of everyday streets and sidewalks. And two, we're decreasing our infamous stormwater runoff. So that's always good. Guerrilla gardening, which is, I think my favorite thing is actually the signage there. But is an example of community gardening. But the difference here is that they're actually taking spaces that are public or private that are not necessarily sanctioned for community garden. Parking Day, which is one of my favorites, was started in 2005 by the design group Rebar in San Francisco. It's now been adopted across the United States, maybe internationally. Basically what they're doing is they're taking a parking space and transforming it into something else, usually some kind of garden, but it can be very creative. These are two that are actually really well known, pop-up cafes again, which I had referred to before. This is in New York City. And food trucks. This is actually the Great Food Truck Race, I believe, in Cleveland. And food trucks have actually obviously been around a long time. I mean, I think the ones in Oakland have been there 50 years. But I think what the difference is now is that there's a lot more of them and they're offering a lot more variety. This is great. This is pop-up retail, which is basically taking a unused vacant storefront or parking lot and putting in new new retail. It can actually be an existing store, which this is Cadbury Nibbles pop-up shop. This is really cool. So if anybody's been to Melbourne, Australia, you may have noticed these laneways, which are awesome. You actually go out from a building and go down and behind the building, and in between the two buildings, there's these unused dank spaces that they've turned into cafes and great spaces to be. This is really moving fast. Okay, Solar Kiosk is a project that was designed in Berlin, Germany. And the point of this is to be able to provide a space that can have retail and sell goods and services in areas that do not have electricity. Believe it or not, there's about 1.8 billion people that do not have access to electricity, and that's a great way to do it. Armageddon is a takeoff on the term Carmageddon, which was in Los Angeles whenever the 405 freeway was shut down. It was called Carmageddon for a weekend. This was their response. So we're going to have art that's happening all weekend, and we're going to put it up online, and you can have less car and more art, which is great. Pavement to Parks is a very cool program where they're taking specific small spaces and turning them into parks. This is actually now an officially sanctioned program in San Francisco. And again, they're taking this space, transforming it, and now that it's official, it can actually be done, really well and thoughtful. One of the things that I didn't say about tactical urbanism is that it's a way to start out small scale. and then incrementally change the space. So you don't have big capital investment. You can find out what really works and tinker and experiment, which is what they've done here. And now that it's become official, I think they've really found a way to utilize all these spaces. Open Streets is a really cool program, and this is actually in Chicago, in State Street. And obviously what they're doing is they're closing down parts of the street so that you can have other activities happening there. And what are you doing? You're obviously, again, you're creating social capital by having people interact together. I don't know about you, but I would really like to hula hoop.
In the middle.
Maybe on one of our bridges, I don't know. But I think also you're going to be able to bring together people that may not actually come together in this kind of activity. So I really love this. Building a better block is pretty self-explanatory. What they're doing is they're actually, taking a particular block and trying to transform it, and adding bicycle lanes or planters or new ways of even getting through the space. And I think that one of the other interesting things about this is that the number of people that were involved in trying to do this. I mean, you're also adding to your community as you're doing this. Okay, the music should come up right now. So this was actually pretty dramatic, and actually what they did was not that, intensive. There's bikes here, there's additional planting, but look how much, and the street lights. Anybody that does urban planning knows how dramatic these changes can be. But this was really done quickly in Dallas. So just to end, I think the point of this is to be able to do it on your own and to not wait for somebody else to make the change, that you can grasp your own spaces and make them what you want.
Very cool.